Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. Like I said, yet another set of injectors going into our Hilux. What I really want to put in, to be honest, is these tie injectors. I've had some really quiet, particularly that recent one. I'm not sure when, if, what videos are coming out in time, so you know what I'm talking about. Doing my best here. But as you can see, we're well on the way to, obviously we don't need to do an EGR clean. You know, that's all sorted, right? You know, you can see, all sorted. Alright, so we don't have that, that's not coming off, doesn't need to be done, the whole intake's clean. This system, this engine, everything that we've checked, it's all in Mickey Mouse condition. So any rattles coming from this vehicle basically are going to be, it's just a standard characteristic of the vehicle. If we put this set of injectors in, I'm already pretty sure it's not going to make any difference. It's going to be exactly like it was before, and I really can't tell you why it would be made. And don't get me wrong, it's not the end of the world, death, rattles, knocking, carrying on like a pork chop. It's just probably I'm too fussy and I listen too much, and it's noisier than what the Prados are, because the Prados have got more insulating stuff, the insulating cover over the valve cover. But anyway, I just want to give you some feedback and show you, yes, it is a real thing, you know. You can see this is it. How can you tell it's our vehicle? I don't know, generally by the batteries or something like that. Let's come in, let's have a look. We got the old light bar on there as well. That's the old light bar off the 120 we put on there. So that's our Hilux, 4 months old, just so you know, in case you were curious about when the intake was clean, stuff like that. That was all 4 months ago. It's been driven thousands of kilometres. So the original injectors were a bit noisy, put a new set in. Didn't seem to make a lot of difference, but maybe I needed to take more notice because I was expecting a massive change. And I think it was quieter when it was cold, but it's that hot rattle. It's a bit of a rattle under certain conditions. And then now what we've got in there, in case you missed it, this is a set of injectors that came out of a Prado that, as far as I know, was quiet as usual. He was replacing them at the recommended one, it was about 176k. So these have done a couple thousand k's in here as well, because I thought I'll take the other ones out and just put something different in that we know is quiet out of another car and continue the R&D was my thinking. But now, since having these old, hey, guess what? They're out of a 2014 full DLC. I thought putting these in, they're going to be pretty good. But now we've got a cold rattle that we didn't have before. But I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, this is why these are going, because it is the right thing to do. As much as I've got, you know, I'm in two minds. I want to continue the R&D to see how far these will go, but I also want to do the right thing and do as I do as I say, not as I do myself, if you know what I mean. I need to do as I do, or whatever that is anyway. But these tie injectors, I've always liked the look of the quality, because it's technically, it was only the 0506 Hilux that got those injectors. But like I said, in recent times over the last year or two, we've seen a few of the tie ones mixed in, different suppliers, whatever. And yeah, the Australian suppliers, that is, the Denso in Australia system. And I've been using some of those and sourcing a lot more of those direct. And they're just, look, you know, they come up just as good or better. So I really just want to try a set and have a set of those in our Hiluxes, I suppose, what the truth of the matter is. And then we can say we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 different sets of injectors, 2 new, 2 used in this engine, and have a real comparison in videos. It's not that loud that you can generally hear it. It's not that bad, if you know what I mean. But anyway, we'll get on with the job. We'll get these new ones in. I'll give you a bit more information as we go. So, because it's been worked on recently, it's all very clean, as you can see. You can see in the engine, obviously they didn't do the oil changes like what we did, but you can see the oil starting to clean it up. See the alloy parts there. You can see some black staining on the caps over the camshaft, right? But you can see, look down in there, see the oil is starting to clean it up. So we're going to do 5,000k oil changes on this now, pretty much forever. And just on that, you know, if you're on a big trip and you're doing 10, 15,000 Ks, they're the ones you don't worry about. You just keep driving and fix it when you get home, because you're going to be doing it all in 2 or 3 months anyway, usually, you know, 10 or 15,000 Ks. Big trip. But look, everything's clean, so it's kind of like a quick swap over. You know, if you change injectors like this, it would be a little bit cheaper, because A, we don't have to pull that off. Everything's, look, you know, I've brought the vehicle in, look at it. Mickey Mouse, clean, look at it. Everything's spotless, there's no dust, dirt anywhere. Don't get me wrong, I've just lifted the valve cover off and haven't even wiped the oil residue. You can see, seeing at the back of the head there, there's a little bit of a drip at the bottom just there. That's all about to get cleaned up. these little gaskets here, they are single use only. As much as I'm tempted to reuse them and go, oh, just for R&D, I'll tell you, no, single use only. They're never going to get reused again. If you stuff up and you tighten those up and then you realize your injector alignment's all wrong, you need to take them, you need to replace them. And from Toyota Genuine, they're about 13 bucks each. So be aware, they're expensive little suckers. Don't make the mistake of tightening those down or using the wrong torque specification before you've got your injector alignment correct. And all this procedure and information, it's in the VIP group in the detailed videos, right? I've probably even got some of it on our YouTube channel, so check injector information playlist. Check your playlists every time you need some information. Check our playlists. All right, we're going to get on with this. We've got the new babies sitting in place, the new brand new Genuine, and this is why you need the brand new Genuine stock, because we've had a bit of a complication, and it's not uncommon that this happens now, because this is not official, but it's something I noticed in recent times, and I've mentioned it before in other videos. There's many videos. I believe they made the injector body size a small amount bigger, because the injectors used to sit in here and wobble back and forth and have, you know, quite a bit of wobble play in them. I'll have another video later, so if you haven't already subscribed, turn the bell on, because at a later date I'll have another video where we get an older engine in that's got old injectors, and what we'll do, we'll actually give them a wobble back and forth, and you get this movement. These don't have it. But what I'm saying is, because they made them a little bit bigger, they probably took measurements of the ports inside a number of heads. And then when we can go up to this, but what's happened is, obviously on the road there's millions of these engines, not just 100 or however many they measured. And there's some manufacturing tolerances they didn't allow for, because some of the injectors, they're binding up and they're very tight towards the bottom, the end of the nozzle in some of these heads. It's not a big problem, but I'm just going to quickly go through what we recommend, the recommended procedure, so that you have any issues. Firstly, don't panic. That's why you watch, you subscribe, turn the bell on, because this is information you're not going to get from anyone anywhere else. They're not going to explain it. They're not going to tell you whether to worry about it. They're probably not going to give you the right information, okay? So number one went in, no problem. So that's in. We've just got the clamp sitting there. They're not clamped yet. They're just loose, right? So we can twist them, you know, back and forward to do our alignment. That's not necessarily going to be in this video, because we just want to keep this one a short one. We've got a separate video on that, I'm pretty sure, at least one. Now, so they're all twist like that, and we haven't done the alignment on this yet. There's a couple of different things we need to do, but number three, look, some of them, they were all a little bit tight, which is good, because we want them tight, because if the injector body is loose, when you clamp it down at the top here, right, and it's seated at the bottom, they bend like a banana, and that messes with the internal tolerances and the workings, the operation of the injector. So you want to have the less bananaing. That's why it's really important to use the correct torque specification on these bolts. Don't worry about the bolts. You reuse them. They're not going to break. There's never an issue with the bolts unless somebody's over-tightened them, not using the correct torque spec. Too loose, and the seats at the bottom of the injector might leak prematurely. Too tight, you might break a bolt and break a clamp, or even worse, ruin the operation of inside your injector, because it's bent like a banana, and you know, we're talking about microns of clearance there. You're going to cause problems. So it really needs to be that 22 Newton meters as recommended. We find that works best. That's what Toyota said. What they say doesn't always work best. 10, 15 years down the track, sometimes we find things a little bit different to what they planned in engineering when they did the books and everything. Things do change a little bit, but they're pretty bloody good. And generally you can stick to their recommendations. But what happened up here, and it's not the first time, as I've said, number 3 injector up here, this one, it was very difficult to get in, so I put it in, I removed it again. I can see it's binding up right on the end of the nozzle. Probably should have showed you, but you know, it didn't seem like a big deal at the time, and I have mentioned it before in other videos. If you've missed those, that's because you're not subscribed with the bell on and you're not watching the videos. You've got to watch till the end. I'll start, just before I did a video, I started off talking about air filters, how to keep it clean and avoid that, how to clean it, what brands to use when replacing it, why, and this sort of thing. And it just went on. I started talking about showing all these other things in the vehicle. So if you didn't watch the video because you thought it was about air filters and you thought you knew everything, so you went, oh, I don't need to watch that, then you miss out on all the other information that it went on to afterwards. So with this one, number 3, it was starting to bind up about 10 millimeters up still. It was still up about 10 mil. So what I do, gently pushing and twisting. So what I'm going to do, I can't demonstrate because it's in now,
But basically I don't want to push on this solenoid too much, so I'm pushing on this part of the solenoid here while using this for leverage, just twisting gently back and forth. Now we lubricate the O-ring. When we get a tight one, we take it back out, we have a look, see where it's binding, and it's not a problem, I just want to say, it's just not a problem at all, but it can be a problem. Look, the ones we've seen, and we probably see more than anyone else, because I honestly believe I've probably replaced in this workshop probably more injectors than anyone else on 1KDs, and could be wrong, but that's what I sort of currently believe. And what I would like to believe is, you know, we've seen the worst of things, if you know what I mean. Now, so what we did was then, this might sound dodgy, but I put the clamp on, and you can see the bolt's loose at the moment, because I sort of need to know how tight it is, how much resistance there is, and when we torque it down that we're getting the correct squash on the washer at the bottom of the injector, not just the resistance of the injector going downwards. Now, but what we've worked out is, because we put a ratchet on here and using the thread, just gently holding the ratchet head like this, it just doesn't take much pressure at all for that to clamp to pull the injector down. It's like, I don't know if it's 1 or 2 Newton meters, if that. And once it comes to the bottom, then we just back it off like this. And I'm just going to sort of move it a little bit, right? You can move it, right? So it's not, that sort of tells us that once it's down to the bottom and seated where it needs to be, there's not a massive resistance. It's already down now. It's not, it doesn't have to go down any further. And the fact, if we couldn't twist it, if that was locked up, then I'd be going, oh, you know, when we torque it down, it's not going to necessarily have the correct torque. But I've done a number of these, and it's hard for me to explain my understanding of this. But with all the testing and, you know, mucking around we've done, so I just want to let everybody know you could have this issue regardless of what injectors you can get. If you get, you know, Chinese copies, look, if you get remanufactured, or you're going to get the old sloppy injector bodies, you don't want that. You don't want, you know, the remanufactured or other brands and have those injectors wobbling back and forward like that. The good about these is they don't move, so they're locked in. So you're not messing with those internal tolerances of the injector when you clamp it down. Okay, now some of them will move a little bit, because every head, this is the thing, there's a tolerance in the head. They can make the injector spot on, but all the heads aren't spot on the same. If they had their time again, I reckon they'd probably do better machining process on the head to make it Mickey Mouse fit for the injectors into every port of every head, because that would probably solve a lot of issues that they didn't think of when they came up with this design originally back, you know, 20 years ago, whatever the case may be, right? See this one, let's have a listen. There's a bit of movement there, right? It's a very small amount. This one, nothing. Well, hang on. Could be me flexing it, pressing against the clamp. No, they all do the same thing. There you go. But what I'm telling you is, that I think that's me pressing the solenoid here against the clamp, but there's hardly any movement in those injectors. The old ones, take my word for it, really sloppy it seemed, you know, really loose and sloppy, just, you know, I'm not going to describe it like some other things, just really not desirable. You know, you just want that nice tight fit. So gently use this to pull it the rest of the way down. So I'll go back to the start. So I found it tight, I removed it again, I inspected where the resistance was and where the marks were. I put some moly coat on it, put it back in, it went in a bit easier. Same procedure, just pushing gently on here and twisting. Got to a few mil away and I went, I'm sick of this, let me see what happens with the clamp. And we've done it many times like this. Put the clamp on and just gently like this, literally with holding the ratchet head at this end, bang, felt it make contact really easily with minimal pressure. Back this off a couple of turns again, you can see it's just finger tight at the moment, and then confirmed that this was able to move back and forward without too much issues, whatever, as they all are, right? They'll all move like that. Obviously now we need to, you know, see this one is really nice though. And that's what I'm saying, they vary. So I want you to understand, regardless, as long as they're brand new, genuine, fresh injectors, and if this is why you want the latest fresh stock, so that you get the latest upgrades. If you get anything from me, it's all fresh stock. I don't have stuff sitting around for years. It's bada bing in, bada bing out, like, you know, big turnover. Now, yeah, you just want it to be a tight fit. But if you come across that, or you're having this issue, don't panic. But just, you know, this is where I suppose sometimes if you've got the option, taking it to a professional could be a better option, because when they come across this, especially if it's one of our workshop partners, they're on channel with what's what, and if they need to talk to me, whatever the case may be, to get a feel for it, photos, videos, or I'll even be there and check it out for myself. But like I said, we've been through heaps of these. I've explained it best I can. I hope you understand. We're going to continue on with this job, get this alignment right, which I'll just quickly say is by using the return line, and the best way to confirm is by gently putting the rocker cover back in place and checking the alignment more detail in other videos. Moving forward, we're going to get it all lined up, get the return line on, 22, 16, 16, 16, 16, and 13 at the back. And then these red caps will come off and the cover will go on, more detail in those injector replacement videos. Lots of pitfalls and things can go wrong. That's why you really need to watch those before you do this job. Don't think because you saw a little video like this that you got it figured out. And you may well, depending what your skill levels are and what your background is, you may just go, oh yeah, I can do that. And if you want to do that, go for it. I invested in a brand new valve cover. No, they don't come with the oil cap. I invested in a brand new valve cover. It comes with a gasket, comes with the top seals, because that way when we've got these vehicles in the workshop, the Prado and the Hilux, we've got a new one there in case we find one cracked. We keep one of each in stock. So if you find yourself in the position doing your own injectors and you're nearby and you pull it apart and you find the usual cracks, then you can replace it. Now the other thing we've done, I note, because a lot of people are happy with a good second-hand one, so since we're doing our injectors, the 350 bucks, these are worth new. I'll throw that on my vehicle, so we're putting the brand new valve cover on, so we know we've got a good second hand or a good spare there, and it's going to save people a lot of money, a couple $100, whatever, right? So I wear the cost of that, goes on our vehicle, and I'll get the nice brand new one, and most other people are going to be happy to get one for about half price to solve the problem of any cracks and stuff like that. Anyway, this is going on now. There it is, all beautiful, right? New return line gaskets, brand new, made in Thailand injectors. Let's see how quiet these ones are or not. Stay tuned. We'll let you know. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe, turn the bell on so you don't miss the next important message. I'm going to put this valve cover back on. All right, so the valve cover's on. First thing we do, bang, seals in, torque down. Did you do the 9 Newton meters?
Correct, I did.
Okay, good, because I tightened it down, but then I think, yeah, so you've done that. I'll put that hose back on. Now we're ready to put the pipes on. So all the cover's done, everything's Mickey Mouse. What about the alignment, mate? How good did we go with the alignment? Is it any good?
The alignment
better be, this is mine.
Excellent.
Excellent.
One of the best ones.
Before you said it's perfect. So what are you saying, we don't take as much care on anyone else's vehicle? Yeah, it's pretty good or it's perfect. Which one is it? Let's get around and have a look. Let me see. Let me come around there and let's have a look at the alignment. Oh, mate, look at that. Beautiful. Look at that cover. It's like a new car. Everybody's going to want a new valve cover now. I better stock up or order another 10. Because doesn't it just look good when it's new? Anyway, let's get in there sideways. Look at that. Beautiful. These ones hard to see because the EGR valve's in the way. You have to take our word for it. But I've got to tell you, it looks pretty good to me. What's the problem here? The injectors are open to contamination. That's why everything's clean. We don't have to worry. It's a still day. There's no wind. Perfect conditions. Indoors, clean workshop. The Prado Hospital. And we've got some brand new clean pipes that are about to go on. We need to get on with it, so we're going to do that. I couldn't help myself. I just had to polish up the EGR cooler. Did you see that? If you didn't, just rewind. Just give it a quick polish up. Beautiful. Mate, have a look at that. Doesn't it look beautiful? New valve cover, new injectors, new pipes, bloody beautiful. The thing I don't like is that, you know, that cooked oil cap, you know, just shows how much it's been prone to heat. Maybe sitting there idling a lot, the fan blowing the heat straight over the engine, long idle times, aircon on, people in the vehicle, that sort of thing. So, you know, not the greatest, but that's all right. Brand new pipes, you know, we're sort of getting it all back together slowly. We'll get it all running, get the compensation codes in, do the pilot learn, all that sort of thing, give it a bit of a run for a while, let it all settle in, and there will be another video letting you know what the outcome is, whether it's all exactly the same. And look, we've swapped Gnostics to just about everything on this vehicle, as I said already. I don't think there's anything else left, so I'm pretty confident. I'm going to have a think about that, but I'm pretty confident that if this keeps doing its usual rattles, we'll call it the usual rattles, it must be just a characteristic of these Hiluxes. Even the 120s, they can make some rattles and stuff like that, but sometimes they don't. This is certainly noisier than our 120. So anyway, doesn't matter.
Let's see what happens. We love doing a bit of R&TU, so subscribe, turn the bell on so we can tell you what happens. And if you got something out of this, learnt something, you like what we're doing, trying to help you understand what's happening, you know, hit the like button. Bada bing, bada boom, I'm out of here. All right, see ya.